Okay, hey everybody. It is December the 14th, and we're here a second time with the Keeper team. We're going to look at the home screens that they were or are working on. And yeah, who here has already used Keeper or has looked into it so far? Just show of hands. I have. Nobody? Oh, all right.
Anand raised his hand.
Cool.
Feel free to speak.
No, I just wanted to say yes, but I have to rest there.
It would have been a surprise if you hadn't used it.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe let's get started with just for people who haven't seen the first call or haven't been on the first call where you kind of went into more detail about what Keeper is and what the kind of target audience is. Could maybe just have give a little refresher about or a quick intro about Keeper, and yeah, then we can just quickly jump into what you guys would like feedback on for today's call. Anyone can take that from the Keeper team.
To me, it's all yours. You want me? Just let me know when you want me to jump in, but
Okay.
otherwise, it's
Okay. So, quick introduction. Keeper was it's a multi-sig application. Our target audience is people who already have a good amount of Bitcoin that they want to use for long-term storage or inheritance, and already have a hardware device, at least one hardware device. So that's our target audience. Our application is already on beta. I'll send out a link so you guys can try it. The difference that we've made in this review meeting is we used to have this separation between a different kind of wallet. So we called it Vault. That was meant for the long-term storage, and then Hot Wallets was just regular wallets. But that wasn't really received well. People didn't really understand the differentiation, why it was created, because not other apps really use it. So we sort of moved away from it, and that's basically what the design update is.
there are, I guess, Sumi. There are many other few small things you have incorporated, but that was a major structural change.
Yeah, and once we start walking through the design, I'll sort of highlight these points.
Sounds good. Michael's muted. There he is. Back again.
Yeah, I got I got disconnected twice already in like 5 seconds. I don't know what the problem is. So sure as hell, glad that you are recording.
Should I?
Anything, I'll have to rewatch I'll have to rewatch the video. But I'm kind of familiar with Keeper, so I
Okay.
don't need just for me to repeat stuff. But any questions so far from anybody before we jump into the topic at hand today? No? Then let's get started.
Awesome. I'm gonna share my screen. Let me know once you can see it.
Yep, we see it.
All right. So we do this. Can I just share one window? Hold on. Share window. Share this window. Okay. Let me know once you can see it.
Not yet.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay, it doesn't let me share my window, so I'm just gonna start sharing my entire screen.
You might have more luck if you're using Chrome.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure
I'm
if you want to try that right now.
That's fine. This is okay. I will just highlight this. Okay, so I'm gonna quickly go through the few differences that we've made. This is basically what the user would land on once they've created a new app. So a vault is created for them by default. All the balances are 0, and we have a default mobile key. So the top section is basically what we're calling UAI. This is the next action that we want the user to take. We might have a few inline, so you can see that it's stacked on top of each other. We have inheritance because the user is landing on the screen for the first time. It was never accessed before. Subscription-wise, pleb is the starting point, so that's where they're on, and then there's just keeper, just app settings. Under that, we have the keys. The user can add as many as they want, and then we have wallets. So what we've done is the way we're separating different kinds of wallets is via tags now. It's all going to be in the same place. So if I look at a variation of that screen, when the user has already added a few keys or a few vaults or wallets, this is how it will look. Yeah, so settings is what it used to be before. We when we say add key, there's a bunch of there's quite a lot of keys that we're actually supporting. We're actually supporting the most available hardware signers. Yeah, once we add that, we can start to use our wallets or our hot wallets. This is basically what the vault used to be. As you can see, we have like this hardware signers that we selected with it. Transactions, we have send, receive, buy, settings pertaining to this particular wallet. The tags also reflect over here. We have the user entered description and name. UTXO management is also slightly different. We used to directly take the user to Whirlpool, but now when we say UTXO management, we first take them to the screens where we have a bunch of UTXOs. You can either select UTXOs to send or start a Whirlpool, or you can access your Whirlpool if you've done Whirlpool before via this option. A hot wallet is a little simpler. So this was just single sig, and this is an imported wallet. We have transfer policy where we can set it to a certain amount, and once it crosses that, we sort of nudge the user to transfer this into their long-term storage instead of just single sig. Similar transactions and options as before. Also, we can access our subscription through here. So we're showing the user different ones available and what features they have. Also, we've listed some features that we're working on, and they'll come soon. We've categorized our wallets into single sig, advanced. My bad, sorry. That's supposed to be multi-sig. I'll quickly change that. So a hot wallet is just using the app's mobile key. Watch only is just when you're using an external XPub, and then you can import other wallets. We've created certain configurations for the user, so 2 of 3 or 3 of 5, and then there's a collaborative wallet as well. These are advanced, so a time lock, a degrading multisig, or a custom multisig. So if we say custom, we can basically let the user define M and N. So, so this is basically 3 of 7.
Right.
So that's the quick changes that we've made. I'll leave it on this screen and just open to questions.
Cool. Yeah, it looks quite different from. So I was going through the app
Yeah,
just
it
today.
does.
Again, some pretty interesting things. And but for today's call, you I gather from the actual invite that your main objective is kind of the home screen, right?
Yes.
Because when I see these things, my mind just wanders, and since I'm working on these kind of time lock and miniscript things as well, I have tons of questions or topics there. But let's keep it focused, I think, for what your primary objective is to get from this call.
Okay.
So,
We can always get feedback on any of the screens, really.
exactly. So, what are actually your main kind of, let's say, feedback objectives, or what are the things that you would like to get feedback on? Are there some kind of specific questions that you are unsure of, or that you want feedback on, or do you have different variations of the home screen that you would like to maybe discuss and talk through, or what was
There's
your
a lot
idea coming into this call?
Okay, there's a lot of user feedback that we've collected based on interface and experience. One of the most common one was in the previous design, the messaging on the URL wasn't clear, or it wasn't highlighted enough that the user didn't understand that they needed to do this next. So certain things like that we've sort of addressed. Also, like I said earlier, the differentiation between walls and wallet, because we created that, the users weren't really understanding it. So we tried to basically accommodate a lot of beta feedback that we've got. So yeah, right from layout to the fonts was, I used to use a condensed font and that wasn't really well received, so changed that as well. So yeah, basically any feedback is welcome.
Okay, got it.
Super cool design, by the way. I'm still trying to formulate questions and stuff, but it looks pretty slick.
Well, one question that kind of came to mind first for me was actually why the wallets are at the bottom of the screen and not somewhere kind of more prominent. Or yeah, for me it was kind of, I'm used to, I open any of these apps, and usually it anchors you to see what your, let's say, wealth or your holdings are, and then you kind of go kind of a little bit down the path of exploring. And so it took me some time to to get to the to this information, which visually, I mean, the style I really like. But that was kind of one of the questions, what kind of the rationale behind that is. I get that this screen is kind of more of a really a dashboard of sorts, where you have kind of different topics that you can dive into as a user. But yeah, that was something that I don't see very often. So that was kind of the first thing that I noticed.
So
Well,
basically anything that scrolls, I've kept it at the bottom of the screen.
mhm.
So because the user might add up to a few wallets, it could always scroll horizontally as well as keys. So I wanted it at the bottom so it's easily accessible via the thumb.
Yeah. Usability
Also,
wise, yeah.
yeah. Also, I wanted the UAI to be at the top. So the minute you look at the screen, the first thing you see is what is my next immediate action.
Mhm.
So that's basically the rationale behind it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, from a usability perspective, of course, it's much easier to reach those targets on a mobile phone. Anybody else? Questions so far?
Can I
Or
ask a
comments?
question? Can you hear me?
Yep,
Yeah.
we hear you.
Okay. So I just updated the app from the App Store, which I realize is not, this design. That has a bottom navigation bar, which has a wallets and a vault section. Is that going to remain, or is the bottom navigation bar disappearing?
Bottom navigation is now gone. So we have app settings over here. And we've basically removed the differentiation between vaults and wallets now. The only way we highlight it is via tags.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing I was just thinking about was that I like the design overall. Visually, it's very pleasing. There is a lot of things for me to kind of look at and understand. As it's very dense in a way. So that might be one thing to consider. Like, is all of this information required at all times? And maybe we're seeing everything now because it's in a particular state or so. I don't know. But yeah, I would maybe try to see if I could simplify it somewhat, because yeah, there's a lot on the screen at the moment, and maybe I won't use everything all the time. So for example, if I have my wallets and vaults set up, maybe I won't be adding keys every time I use the app. So so maybe that can sort of fade into the background, or be somewhere else when I have reached a certain state, for example. And similar with the subscription status, I'm not sure if I need to see that every time I log in. Yeah, just some thoughts about the density.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I think removing the distinction between wallets and vaults makes sense to me, because they're still just wallets, right? I mean, or yeah, accounts or wallets, and so to have to think about in which kind of tab the thing that I want to look at, have to look for, it just kind of it adds kind of a bit of friction there. But if you don't have any, tab or global navigation, then it becomes tricky. I think that's one of the maybe implications from Daniel's point, is that if you don't have navigation, where do you put all the things that you want people to access from the home screen? So there's this kind of tension between these kind of two concepts. But yeah, I would probably also, just personally, I mean, I really like to, that I see all the keys that I potentially could use. But on a daily basis, probably it's enough to know that I have 3 keys, and if I want to see the details of them, then I just tap on something and get details, or to a detail screen where I manage keys.
Okay.
Can you show the initial state as well? Like, when
Sure.
you just load the app?
So we have one default mobile key created and one default vault. And then the user can then just add or use the existing ones.
Okay, and I'm assuming there's like a onboarding stage which tells you like
Yes.
about the creation of those things.
Yes.
So, okay.
I'll chime in. I was just listening to the comments from the others. Hi, I'm Mo. I'm from the Bitcoin design community as well. Thank you for having us, Sumi, and the rest of the team as well. I like the use the sort of the color scheme. It's the first time I'm joining on the call, so it's the first time I'm actually seeing the interface. I don't have it downloaded on my phone, so you have a completely honest reaction here from me. I definitely like the earth tones, the colors that you're using. I do share the sentiment with Daniel and with Michael as well, in terms of the key visualization. Um, it feels as if it takes up quite some space on the screen. Um, and also wondering if that's something that they need to see on a daily basis. Similar to Daniel, there's the density of the information on the screen as well is a lot. I suppose if it could be a little bit less dense, it would be amazing. And in terms of familiarity, I think one of the if you think about what sort of principles Bitcoin wallet users are familiar with, they're used to sort of seeing their balance at the top of the screen. It's this sort of standard thing that they're used to seeing in almost, I think, like 99% of Bitcoin wallets. But of course, you guys are welcome to like completely go off the track and do your own thing. So similar to Michael, I would expect to see the balance at the top of the screen as well.
Okay.
And in terms of the icons used for keys, I would expect to see all of the icons being circles as well. I know it's adding a little bit of design flair and making it a sort of that unusual shape, but I think for consistency,
Yeah.
it would make visual sense to kind of have all those icons the same. And also in terms of the headings, just like the 03 keys, it would make almost sense to have that all in bold. Somehow my eye just doesn't make sense to have it as a 3 and then keys. But yeah, that's just a small minor thing. But yeah, careful showing balance at the top of the screen, people with a significant amount of Bitcoin. Yeah, it's a good one. So yeah, that's it from my side. But yeah.
Yeah, I would just add something to what John said, is about the onboarding experience. So if one of the feedback was that people didn't understand why things were there, then they were just not explained enough, right? And that goes into the initial onboarding. So if you place a vault there, if you create that for people, you have to tell them that we set this up for you, but you need to finish this, and there are 3 steps or so involved. Or we have this inheritance thing, and but you need to set it up. You don't have to do it now. You can access it from wherever, right? And then so also for Mo, she sees this for the very first time, and that was her first impression. And an actual user goes through the website, the download, they go through the initial screens. So Mo's first impression is a little bit, is not exactly matching the what an actual user goes through, because she was not primed through the initial few screens. Sorry, Mo, dismissing but you still have very good feedback there. I just wanted to point that out, how just how important it is, these simple screens that tell people like what it is they're about to see and what's being set up for them. So when they get here, they already know, like, okay, I know that I need to go through these 4 steps still. Let me do that. Or I don't want to do that. I know it's coming. But I don't want to do it right now. I'm going to explore this other thing. Yeah, and good point about the balance as well there. That was it.
I have another question about these kind of how do you call it, these notifications or the next steps at the top of the screen. Is there a state where you don't have, or I assume there is a state where you don't have any, right? Because you've been using the app for quite some time now, let's say half a year, and basically you completed all the recommended steps. that that you guys recommend. So that uh, topmost element probably at some point won't be there, so it also won't clutter the the screen as much. So basically, you'd have 3 rows instead of 4. So that's also, or is there always something like that you would want to recommend users do, or would you just not show anything?
We could always talk about like health check or ask the user as a marketing move to upgrade the app. So things like that. There would be some message or the other there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find that page on hiding sensitive information in the guide. Is it still existing?
I don't know.
Sorry, what was the question?
In the design guide, there used to be something about discrete mode or hiding balances in the.
Just posted the link.
Oh.
There's it's still there. Yeah, but it kind of depends. So there are the daily spending wallet. It's meant to pay at the store coffee. So you pull it out and you just want to pay very quickly, and that's where I mean, I've had that a few times at the Bitcoin meetup. I'm in line and I can see everyone's balances, right? Because it's just right there. That's one of the reasons why on the daily spending wallet we didn't put the balance on the initial pay screen. But this is not necessarily a daily spending wallet. It's not necessarily the one that you pull out at the coffee shop or grocery store or wherever, right? So I think and if you consider that, then you can go about it and design a little bit differently.
Yeah, and also when you're when you're on the train and you're trying to see plan for your kids' futures and stuff, that's when it probably comes up. Not the coffee way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, also just the fact that now they are all just wallets, and not, you don't have an explicit kind of location for vaults that would kind of tell an attacker that there is a vault in the first place. And even if you don't see the balance, then you still can assume that there's a significant amount of funds in there. So I think that's also another kind of added benefit to not to just call everything a wallet and let users kind of decide on the naming of that.
I wanted to get back to so you said people weren't quite sure why things are there, and you wanted to make sure that they go through those initial steps. So what are the steps that they have to go through?
So they could basically, we always had UAI in the previous design as well, but it wasn't just highlighted enough. So it was more of that, oh, we didn't know it was there, versus this is the steps we need to take. I suppose it didn't just grasp their attention enough, because there was like a big brown vault, and then there were like the wallets was green, and then the UI was just sitting there, wasn't highlighted enough, basically.
As I'm looking at it, it says your vault Valinor. You might try adding a label like finish setting up your wallet, or complete setup, like something that says, like, that tells me, because right now I'm not sure if this is optional, like manage subscription. That seems like optional, but is this at the top? Is this like, do I have to do this, or is this like, when like all these applications, they try to sell you on some feature or so, like it's not quite clear. But if you say like complete your setup, then it'll be that may help. Not sure.
Okay. Yes, that makes sense.
A very, very minor point. It's just my eye. I'm used to seeing so many of these interfaces that my eye kind of sees it, but it seems as if the icon sizes of inheritance, pleb, and settings, it seems to be one size. and then there's a different icon size for the keys as well. And when you see those both on the same screen, then it looks that it takes the cohesiveness away. But I get it that these circles are larger, and maybe a solution would be, if the keys are kept on the same page, to make the circles all the same size, just for sort of visual consistency.
Okay.
Did your users tell you what type of wallets they usually set up? Do most people use the default one that you set up for them, or do they delete it and do something else?
We actually didn't get a lot of users that were using wallets in our apps too, which is why the wallet screen would just remain empty. That's also one of the reasons we were just merging them together. So if we have a wallet there by default, that's probably the one they're using. We don't really get a lot more.
Gotcha. And of course, they're privacy conscious, so they may not want to tell you, even if they did.
That's fair. But yeah, most of our users would be using the vaults more than they would be using the wallets.
Yeah, I think that makes sense also because of the positioning of the product, right?
I will quickly take you to the detail screen, see if there's some feedback there as well. So this is for where you have multisig, and I can see all my keys over here. The difference between this and this over here, basically all of my keys that I've ever added are here, but they may not necessarily use all the keys to secure all the vaults. So that was sort of the logic behind showing them here. But I get that you might not want to see it on the home screen. It could be another detail screen.
Right. So the pattern is that you can add keys individually and then just assign them to different wallets, or you can create a wallet and add keys to that wallet, but it will also then be available for future ones, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So adding them are like two separate things. So if I'm
Yeah.
going here, adding my key takes me to this flow, versus adding and that's done. I will add a key and then done. And then when I'm adding a vault, that's when I'll decide how many keys I want and then go ahead and add those later.
Right. I don't remember because it's been a couple of months back that I did this. Do you have to add the keys first and then use them in the wallet, or do both ways work? Also, when let's say I want to have a 305 vault, but I have no signing devices yet, or no key, or just want this one key that I get by default, can I add these additional keys in the wallet creation flow?
I always give an option at the end, so because I don't want the user to get stuck, but they can stop midway and then decide to do it later too.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Because it takes a lot of time to set up these devices, especially if you do a 305, and that's a lot of fiddling with different devices, and you might not have access to them all at the same time when you set this up, and so I think that's a good option.
I really like those little tags with the keys there. It's really nice. But I'm wondering, do I have to see that at all times, or could that go into a wallet settings?
Okay, so we don't even want to see it on the vault screen.
Well, but the question is, if I come here regularly, then is it why do I come here? Probably for seeing an incoming transaction or starting a transaction. It's probably the most likely use case. The seeing all those wallets, I mean, that's static information that will ideally not change just without me doing anything, right? So it might not be necessary, as nice as
Okay.
they look. I don't know, what
Okay.
does everyone else think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very let's say unique visual element, definitely, but it's also a lot of text, a lot of elements to parse on this screen, because you have the tags at the top of the vault, you have kind of these unconfirmed transactions on the top left, and there are a lot of visual cues. So that's maybe something to consider, because probably the fact that the ledger was added on July 20th is like Christoph said, it's maybe not the important information is probably that it's a ledger, or what kind of the friendly name that I gave that signing device. But yeah, so that's also maybe something to look at, how many of these elements there are, or if you have just, let's say, a fifth tab between send, receive, buy, keys, and settings, or put the keys there, to kind of simplify the top UI. But or from a design perspective, or as a designer, it's always interesting to look at these things, because it's unusual, right? You don't see this concept, or I haven't seen it anywhere else so far.
I have to agree. These little cards with the cold card Spectre DIY, it's a design style I've never come across before. It's very cute, but like Christoph, I'm wondering if it's relevant on the screen. It will be nice, almost nice to explore if it could be incorporated somewhere else, like that. It's still kept because it's very cute.
Okay.
Just visually, like when I look at the screen, one of my first impressions is the alignment. I'm going more in on the UI side of things.
Sure.
Maybe my UI brain is switched on today. In terms of the alignment of the elements on the page, it feels as if there's some right alignment, and then there's one left alignment with the available balance, and then the transactions are sort of all on the end. It feels almost as if the available balance could be front and center in terms of visual hierarchy, which is what most, I think most wallets keep the balance front and center and bold. And then the unconfirmed transactions, if it would be possible to maybe move that into the transaction section in any way, if possible, to keep that relevant bits of information together.
Sure.
And then I guess if those cold cards, those little nice, cute little designs are removed from there, then you have a screen has more space and it breathes a bit more. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with a lot of that. And also continuing on that theme with your header, I think again it looks nice visually, but when I start to sort of parse all the information, I wonder if there's some streamlining that can be done, both in terms of the amount of stuff and the order and the alignment, perhaps. So, for this example, I would imagine the things I care most about probably is like making sure that it's the vault that I expect it to be. That would probably be the name. So probably look at the name, or want to know the name first before I see the description of what it might be for, which I assume is the funds to return home. And then it also that it's a 305 and that it's a vault. It kind of feels like the order is inversed from what I would maybe kind of want to parse it through my head. And yeah, the kind of one big important amount on one side and then another value on the other side makes me have to work harder to kind of get to the core of what I need to know quicker. And then at the bottom with the action buttons, I wonder here as well if there's some potential for streamlining. So like I'm right-handed, so often the button that's to the right on the bottom is the one that's absolutely easiest to tap. And in this case, it's the settings button. So I wonder again if would maybe reconfigure that slightly for what I want or what I expect users to do most often. And potentially even settings could be combined with some of these, keys that are connected to it. So then there's a learn more at the top right of the page as well. So I would maybe try and, clean up a few of these elements and put them in settings or a kind of a secondary page for this vault.
Okay.
These the red dots on some of the elements, are these, or I assume these are kind of the indicators that match the UAI messages, right? So you draw attention to, okay, here on Tab Signer, you may want to run a health check or something like that.
Yes.
That makes sense. And this mechanism would actually also probably allow you to move, a couple of these things, or hide it a bit more, hide them somewhere else, but still get attention on it or on them when they're relevant. So I like that pattern.
That is nice. I didn't make the visual connection between red dots and the tips, or what I still have to do.
Yeah.
But maybe there could be a visual connection if you have a small icon with I don't know, red seems potentially, it reminds you of a notification, like there's something new or so, which is not necessarily the case, but some unique visual little treatment that connects to those tips. Yeah, I like that. That's a nice pattern there.
Yeah. It could also just be a number, right? Maybe or it could be some icon that you see also on the home screen, where you have these kind of the stack of the notifications or the recommendations, so that people, when they come here, that they remember, okay, I've seen this icon before on the home screen, so that basically they learn the pattern, and then it basically I really like this.
On this screen, just an indication of how many keys this vault has should be enough versus like me actually showing all the keys over here, right?
I think the most the scheme is probably like Daniel said. I want to know what the scheme is, right? If it's a 3 or 5, and maybe it's still nice to get kind of the names of them somehow, or just. But here in this on this screen, or on this design, they take up the kind of the section with the keys takes up, like, I don't know in percent, but like 15% of the screen, right? And it's a lot of and it's a horizontal line with kind of a lot of elements to parse. So maybe just use only the icons, or some kind of other, or only the names. But there might be some. I mean, this this is going back and forth all the time. Just try and do different things. Maybe there is still a nice way to show the keys, or the representation of the keys, and keep them there. Yeah,
Yeah, I would say, in terms of what needs to be on the screen, I can see two sort of main points from the user here. One is like trust. It could be nice to see some indication giving me validation of which keys are attached to this vault. It kind of makes me trust it more, right? I can immediately confirm. But yeah, finding a way of doing that with it taking up less of my kind of awareness when I look at it. It's just to kind of support my trust a little bit. And then the main thing with the keys would probably be, for me, like if I ever needed to verify some deeper detail, or if I needed to change a key. I'm not even sure if that's possible, but I can imagine scenarios where I would, I've lost one of them, I need to replace it. that to me feels more like a kind of a setup or settings thing. It's not going to be something I want to do every time I open the screen. So those are the two main kind of points I can see about the keys.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess functionally, there's one part is recognition. I want to go in here and I want to recognize, is this the wallet that I'm looking for? And then the other part is I want to send something. Before I send, like which of my keys and devices do I need to get ready for this particular one? So that's a purely functional approach there, and there might be one or two other functional approaches. So yeah.
Yeah, one thing that just came to mind is you could actually also think about reusing the UAI pattern here. Let's say instead of these red dots, you could have just the relevant notifications for this vault. Also, maybe between the instead of the keys, right? If you so one experiment leads to another. Let's say if you say okay, let's put the keys into another in their own tab or into the settings or wherever, move them kind of away. Then there's enough space for kind of these notifications that tell you, okay, key number 3 should be reviewed, right? And you have enough space to write out and to present kind of that information, because that's kind of the currently relevant thing for this vault. But yeah, generally I'm also working on a reference design for Miniscript wallet, and there also I'm kind of I have like a million different variations of how to represent keys in the 305. So it's probably a never-ending fight, right? And I like Daniel's point about what's the kind of the purpose of having them there and building this trust to know, okay, this vault works the way that I think it should work. I think that's a very, very relevant point that he raised. Okay. Do you have anything else that you would like to kind of point to or get feedback on? I see we have like 9 minutes, 8 minutes left.
This categorization would be like the last one I want feedback on.
Mm-hmm.
I could chime in here because I just worked on this multi-page reference design for the Bitcoin Design Guide, and I was thinking about the exact same thing. And one of what I ended up doing, and you can see that on that page that I linked to in the comments, is my assumption in when I with the example design when I came up with was that people don't really understand like how to use these things correctly. Like, when do I use 2 of 3? When do I use degrading multi-sig or so? But they know how much they want to save. They maybe know that if they want to have an extra backup or something, they might know if they're forgetful and forget their phone that maybe they want 6 months from now that they want their security to go one level down so they can access their funds again. So my approach was I'll ask them some questions like how much do you think you're going to put in this wallet, right? Is it a lot? Is it just a little? And then are you going to share this one with someone else? And then do you want like this and that? And then after 2-3 questions, then pointing them towards like we think this one might be good for you. This is how it works, and then they can still change it. That's kind of where I ended up. But yeah, I totally understand there are different approaches, and you can argue, rationalize either one. But for the page that I worked on, I ended up going that route, this kind of wizard approach.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the UI pattern here, but yeah, the question is how easy it will be for people to select the option, right? And Christoph and I also had kind of noticed the term like degrading multisig, you know, that degrading is kind of a negative word that you might not want to use, and and how should I know whether I want a degrading multisig, because I don't know them. But I know from usability tests that were in a prior life where we tested this exact pattern of kind of a wizard, more or less, or kind of a configurator, that this it worked quite well with people, and so yeah, maybe the kind of the, like Christoph said, the question is whether you want to put kind of the product mechanics or the technical implementation as the kind of the pattern here, or whether you want to make it kind of need based, or kind of more a Q&A, like a kind of a salesperson would do it, or somebody who's kind of in customer support somewhere would say, okay, how many people are there? How often do you want to spend from this? These kinds of things, because these are questions that are probably easier to answer because they are direct or kind of these kind of very tangible questions, and it also primes people a bit to think about, you know, to think about questions that they might not have considered yet, right? Like, how often do you want to spend? Might not have occurred to me before that is a relevant question at all. So I would also probably lean to more towards that need-based approach. But from a kind of from a usability perspective, I think this works pretty well.
And I'm saying that users will see the details when they select a template. I guess you could, if you put a little info button in the corner of those, maybe people could just pull it up from there without feeling like they're committing to something.
Okay.
I just now realized that I probably misunderstood the the UI here. I thought I thought that, or the pattern that we tested is that is basically in each row you can select one item, and so basically by selecting these things you basically get to your recommended wallet or your recommended product basically. But here it's basically you have to select, so the template that you select will then be applied. So then there are I'd say I'd probably correct my statement, there are quite a lot of, you know, things that you have to know before you can make a choice. So you somehow need to kind of compare all these different options that you have on some kind of comparison, or some way of comparing the different, like you compare plans. So it's
Yeah, and the point you made, Michael, about having to think about this, those questions are easier, but they're also tougher. If you have to think about, well, who's going to hold the keys, and you have to think about, well, I'm thinking about that person, right? But I haven't even told them about it yet, and where are they going to keep it? Then you thinking about all of this type of stuff, which, you know, with this hot wallet or so, it's not that crazy. But if you have like a 3 or 5 vault with time locks and other stuff, then right, it gets, you have to think quite a bit about how you're going to set this up, and you want people to make good decisions.
yeah. This is, I mean, these are kind of the meaty decisions where you want people actually to, you need to tell them that they have to think about these things, because it also has kind of logistical implications and social implications, maybe not just because I'm not going to hold all the 5 keys probably, so, or myself, but yeah, it's they're more tangible, but still may be hard to answer. Okay, anybody else? Any comments, feedback, questions? I see we're at time already in a minute, 2 minutes.
I just wanted to say, good job. I mean, we've been following the journey now for quite a while. It feels from the beginnings, and I definitely see it improving. It's looking a lot slicker and very nice. And I downloaded the app on the phone again, and it's good job. I hope people discover it and you turn up again with more improvements.
Thanks.
I might have some multi-sig needs in the near future that I might use this for.
Awesome.
And I'll provide
And
feedback.
Yeah. Thank you for having us on the call. I know it's been a lot of feedback in a very short space of time. Maybe use some AI tool to to auto translate everything for you, so you can remember all the feedback, auto transcribe everything. But thanks for having us and trusting our feedback.
Thank you.
I'd echo that, and it's a pretty hard problem to solve, right? It's not just, it's there's a lot of things that you might not even have control over, like how you export XPubs from the signing devices. So it's a really tricky topic, and it's definitely a nice solution. I've been kind of taking stabs at it, and it's overall I hadn't had any problems using it. So good job. All right, then let's tell the master of ceremonies to stop the recording. And yeah,